Hello summoners and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Kirks and in this video I'm going to present you the best champion tier list for the lower elos. So fasten your seatbelts and let's roll. First up we have the Baron lane with the Monkey King. The most recent and probably strongest change for this character was the removal of his first ability's healer reduction on minions. This means that he's going to regen quite a lot of HP during the laning phase, and that with a super low cooldown. Even worse is the fact that he's able to itemize into a super tanky build, which grants him even more healing as it's dependent on his maximum health pool. You should also keep in mind how strong consistent sustain in lower brackets is. Players will most of the time not consider proper recall timings and overstay their welcome in the lane on the regular. So thanks to that sustain, he's going to remain healthy in almost all situations, and the moment we get into a teamfight scenario, he can shine thanks to his reliable crowd control. Next up comes probably the best scaling tank in the game, Dr. Mundo. He is not the strongest early on as he needs quite a few stats to become overbearing as a champion, but you should never underestimate his power. He gains so much health and he has little trouble running over any AD carry in the later stages of the game. One of his greatest assets is the fact that he may even safely farm from range using his cleaver. Otherwise, his primary job is to tank as much damage as possible. But don't be fooled, he isn't just tanky. Just walk into his reach and find out what happens to you once he starts beating you up. Nonetheless, there's one question that every one of us wants to receive an answer to. Reworked Mundo when? But before we take a look at the tier list for the Baron lane, it's time for a question of the day. What's your favorite pick in the Baron lane and why? As per usual, let us know in the comments below. And now, this is the complete Baron tier list. Take a good look at it and pick anything you want and crush your opposition. Next up comes the jungle role. One of the easier champions to pilot that still deals a massive amount of damage is Vi. She has an easy time punching you to death without breaking a sweat. Even better, she may gap close and just ult you on the spot if you look at her in a funny way. So any AD carry player needs to be very careful when facing that champion. Zhonya's is almost mandatory. So for Vi, you need to be always aware of who is currently holding a Zhonya's in his inventory. If you miss that, you might steal your own death by ulting in. And we don't want that, right? Another great feature of Vi is her ability to take down objectives thanks to her awesome stacking mechanic and attack speed steroid. You might even say she's one of the champions that you need to be very well aware of when it comes to sneaking Baron or any kind of objective. Even split pushing is a decent strategy on this character. However, her biggest benefit in the lower brackets is her easy to execute kit. You'll always be able to find ganks, and tapping ultimate on a target will most of the time grant you an easy kill. So let's hope nobody of your future enemies watches this video and buys the stasis enchant, or else, well, your screen is gonna turn grey. For those of the more mechanical oriented players that desire to climb to a higher elo, we got a pick that will satisfy your needs to style on your enemy. Technically speaking, you are an AP version of Zed and your name is Fizz. Due to the recent changes to monster damage, he's now most of the time bound to do a full clear on his red buff side. After doing so, it's almost always a good idea to play around the crap that isn't contested. Another option for you is to flip a level 3 gank, like most of the junglers do, or play towards your more secure level 5 spike. The moment you hit level 5, you could almost guarantee a dive in any lane thanks to your insane damage potential. Keeping in mind that Luden's got a few buffs, it's also your best item in any scenario. It grants you mana and ability haste, basically everything you want. With that, you're going to have an easy time hunting down your opponents on the regular. And once you've started snowballing, you'll literally one-shot people without your ultimate ability. For that, and let's be honest here, he's kinda busted when ahead. Now, let's look at our full jungle tier list. Enough of pesky junglers. Let's move on to the middle lane. For this we have prepared some lovely Luden's Echo Abusers. This item is surely not balanced in the way it's currently, and we love building the most broken items on the most suitable champions. So let's take a look at our first champion, Ahri. This champion heavily relies on making multiple plays around the map. For that she utilizes her mobility. Since she is very cooldown dependent, every bit of ability haste we can get our hands on is a blessing. So getting 10 additional haste from our core item surely helps us out a lot and grants us the ability to go for even more frequent rotations. Which means more catches, more gold, and more fun, and an overall more enjoyable experience for yourself. Next up comes the queen of the middle lane from previous times. Orianna is back, and she's back with a bang. The buff to Ludens opened up an entirely new way of itemizing for the Clockwork Lady. Rather than rushing the Archangel's stuff, we're now going for Ludens Echo first. Only afterwards we are going to build a tier, but we are going to sit on it. We don't want to complete the Archangel, as we'd be losing a lot of damage in the future. Rather complete the Rabadon Staff Cap after and build into a Void Stuff. This way you'll have the most damage possible. Another nice feature of Orianna is the fact that she's able to lane into anything. Worst case scenario, she'll go even and just farm up, which is completely fine for such a brutally scaling character. And thanks to the lovely changes to Ludens, we scale even faster now, which is something very important in solo queue. And now, let's take a look at our mid lane tier list. So let's move on to the class that got the most love via item changes in the recent history, the attack damage carries. First on our list comes Jinx, which will probably, for all eternity, remain the best pick possible for the elo bracket. She's just too easy to pilot and too obnoxious to deal with in that elo. People will not punish her in lane and she'll get to freely scale. However, you should probably consider a small change to her itemization. Runon's Hurricane is a broken item on her, and getting it as fast as possible is helpful for all kinds of reasons. Therefore, just going BS Sword into Runon's will net you way more damage than completing your Infinity Edge. Keep in mind, your rockets splash for AoE damage, and therefore increase your overall DPS by a lot. So for your core build, you ideally go for something like Infinity Edge, Runon's Hurricane and Mortal Reminder. This way you'll have the most damage available on free items on your champion. Go give it a shot and tell us how it went. Next up comes a champion that's super versatile. He may be played AP, but also AD in the form of lethality. Varus, the Arrow of Retribution, has become a literal monster in this game and people have big troubles dealing with him. Why? Well, here are a few reasons. He has quite the insane range and a self-peel via a spell that if it hits you, might as well one-shot you. Given he has cooldowns, of course. Ideally, you want to go lethality into squishy enemy team constellations that suffer heavily from being poked. Against tanks, however, you should consider investing into AP Varus. That build is the best when it comes to destroying tanks. It's not even funny how much damage you deal to them. In combination to that, you also have insane temporary DPS with the active part of your second ability. Doubling your on-hit from your Blighted Quiver, which has an insane AP scaling? Kinda nutty. And with that in mind, let's take a look at our full AD carry tier list. Last but not least comes the support role. With the recent patch we have seen some buffs to Zeke's itemization, which is primarily a thing tankier supports or supportive characters buy. So what about Braum? Normally, Braum would be abused in lane when we speak about an ideal world. However, Braum is a broken champion in solo queue for relatively obvious reasons. Due to the chaos in solo queue, he may just jump in front of his team and block everything flying his way. Even better, he may even spread his passive mark on all enemy champions in a fight, which forces them to be way more careful than they usually have to be. And if you want to be extra fancy, you might as well flash into the enemy team and ult them all. This way you'll give your team a nice setup, that is if you don't mess it up. For our very last pick, we have Nami. She's the strongest support when it comes to lane dominance. Offering sustain, poke and engage alike, she's basically a jack of all trades. If you're interested in stomping your lane very hard, then this champion is yours to pick. You may sustain over a second ability and poke at the same time. Engaging will be done by either your ultimate from long range or your first ability. Actually, even your third ability slow can set up a kill. And with the Staff of Flowing Water in the game, we are not even forced to build this stupid Archangel stuff anymore, which means we are an actual support. Also, something a lot of players underestimate is the possibility of building Athene's Unholy Grail into multiple magic damage dealers. If you play properly, your second ability consumes Athene's charges twice to heal people for even more, which in reality is like doubling your heal when you take a closer look to its values. And with that out of the way, you may now look at the full support tier list. Alright, and that concludes today's video. Thank you for watching, and if you like the format, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.